Good evening and welcome to our 16th AHK Night Talk, and tonight is a special one. We don't only have a new setup here with a sofa and a chair, but we also have two people from the German community we can interview. And this is Dr. Marcel Wiedmann and this is Heiko Lässig, and the one used to be responsible for FORVIA Heller, and you are now responsible, but maybe you can introduce yourself. And Marcel, we start with you quickly.
Yes, maybe I can start. So I started in China roughly 3 years ago as the managing director of our Heller Corporate Center China, by now Asia. And I was with Heller before already for 5 years roughly.
Heiko. Also, Max, thank you for having us. So my name is Heiko Lässig. I'm now with FORVIA Heller for 9 years and now in China since April. And I'm basically the successor of Marcel as the managing director here.
And I think we barely have this opportunity to discuss certain topics related to China, but also to Germany or Europe, that one is leaving and one is coming. So Marcel, we will talk with you a little bit about your experiences from China. You will take to the global markets. And Heiko, we will of course talk with you what your impressions here, maybe also some things we get wrong in Germany, and some things we can also learn here from China. And of course, you represent the company that just learned the 7th biggest automotive supplier. And during these days, we cannot avoid the topic of automotive. So once again, thank you very much for coming. You've been a couple of times to China on business trips,
yes.
But now you're living here. What was the biggest change for you coming from Germany, living here and working in China?
I mean, first of all, I knew China already quite a lot because the business trips were quite often here. But what was new for me is actually to live here. And what really surprised me at the end was the degree of digitalization, right? Mm-hmm. So you need WeChat and Alipay for everything. In Germany, you are not really used to it. This one I had to learn. Marcel helped me a lot on this. Of course, you need. But this was more or less the biggest positive surprise for me. At the end, from business perspective, I knew already the people. I love our team in our corporate center. They are a very high degree of seniority and they are working really well. So this one was not a surprise to me at the end.
So when you said the first thing you had to get used to was digitalization, is this only when it comes to your personal life, like that you use WeChat and scan QR codes, or is this also deeply rooted in the business environment here?
It really depends. So it's for us. It's mostly in the personal life. Since we are also from the process very structured from our headquarters in Lippstadt, of course you have the standard processes also in the company. So the degree of digitalization is a little lower than here in China, but when you go outside with suppliers or customers, you have a different level of digitalization. Yes.
I see. Marcel, you will go back to Lippstadt?
Yes.
Are you looking forward to it?
Of course.
What will you miss the most?
I will miss a lot of things in China. I really loved living in Shanghai. It's a fantastic city. But of course I will miss a lot of the people. You know, getting in was very difficult into the country 3 years ago during COVID. It was very hard to do the transition. My family arrived later. But then once I was here, the welcoming kindness was really overwhelming. And so I think this is what I'm going to miss.
Will you miss the food?
I will, but of course I had a lot of good food over the last 3 years, so I'm also okay to have a little more European food again.
Heiko, was there any mistake you did already or you experienced when you came to China and there was simply some misunderstanding when it comes to cultural things, etc.? Did you already have your lessons? Because Marcel probably can tell us later some of your mistakes.
I didn't really have let's say a misstep so far, I gotta say. I guess it's also we are lucky that we are overlapping. So this is also a very luxurious situation. So in the beginning, I actually walked a lot together with Marcel and the other colleagues, and therefore I was kind of protected from a lot of missteps at this point of time.
would you say that maybe we are not that different as we sometimes perceive it, or that we expect it to be?
I think from a cultural perspective, when you really look at the mentality of the people, at least in our organization, I think it's very similar to Germany. It's very structured, very organized. It's even more on time than I am, So they call me in one minute before the meeting. So this one feels very, very natural. Of course, when you go outside, it's outside of the company, it's a little bit different. But you know those cultures you also need to accept. Here and there are of course things much different. For sure.
Marcel, what's your opinion?
Well, I would say the main difference is the hierarchical tendency that still persists here, and that took me a while to be much more patient and wait until I was talking, to focus much more on the listening, to make sure that everybody was really contributing and getting the things out. I would say that was the biggest hurdle for me, and I worked a lot on that to become less hierarchical over the last 3 years. Because I think also here, where this tendency is still there, it's still much more fruitful if you get all the opinions around the table. But it was mainly me in the beginning.
And Heiko mentioned that you helped him a lot at the beginning. So you're leaving soon, right, in a month. So what would be your 3 main lessons for Heiko, what you suggest? And he will make his own experience, of course, but what do you think are the 3 most challenging things, or the most he has to be most careful of?
Well, the listening part I just mentioned, I think that's something that you really have to keep in mind in all the different situations, not only within Hella, but also if you're externally with a customer, with a supplier. I think it's very important to wait and make sure that everybody has a chance to speak, since typically there's more holding back in the beginning. So getting familiar with your counterparts, I think, is really one key thing to do for everybody to be able to open up. Aside from that, I would say there's a lot of things you can utilize in a good way. If you think of the speed, the pragmatism over here, the getting things done attitude, I think there's a lot to learn or actually really make use of to bring the company and in general our business forward.
And Heiko, when you came here, I mean, we hear a lot we also receive a lot of delegations from Germany, and they are all quite surprised about the China speed and how fast everything developed. Is it really that it was such a big surprise when you came here, how China developed, how local competition became stronger, etc.? Or do you think you have a quite good observation in Germany already about the situation?
I think it was a surprise to us after COVID. So when the Auto Shanghai actually in 22 started and the products came out, our management board was able to travel. Marcel actually organized it. And then we saw actually the products, the technology leaps that were out there, also the increased quality of the cars, which China before that didn't have such a good image, but that really changed. This caught us a little bit off guard, I would say.
And I think it was especially surprising to our guests that it's not just on the auto show. The cars are on the street already.
Yes.
So you see it everywhere.
I mean, you're not only supplying to the foreign OEMs, right? You're also supplying to the local
Chinese
or the Chinese industry. Do they expect something different from you than the international OEMs?
In my opinion, there is a difference. The time to market is much shorter than the international OEMs, which is, in my opinion, the biggest difference. Sometimes you're talking about 2 to 3 years for the international OEMs, where some of the Chinese OEMs expect 8 to 12 months time to market, which is a significant challenge for the international suppliers also. So I think that's the biggest difference, but also some of the requirements are different when they go into Chinese cars. So we do see still lower requirements overall, but that will also change.
So how do you, I guess, but maybe you can say if it's wrong, you also probably lift from the large scales you could achieve on your global operations, right?
Yes.
And if you have different requirements here for also smaller customers, I assume, how do you adapt to this changing business model and this business landscape?
It's really about being local for local in the end. And of course, we fully participate from global developments, the technology leadership of HELLA or FORVIA in general, also from abroad. But in the end, the next step, or what we are already doing, is really local development, getting close locally to the customers, and with that being able to fulfill the requirements also with the right speed and cost. Cost is also a challenging topic.
And I know that your company, profit, of course, is a major topic, but you have to follow your sustainability goals. So how can you achieve that, especially towards local competitors who are maybe a little bit more cost efficient? So how can you achieve cost efficiency, highest quality, but also remaining sustainable?
I mean, I think it goes hand in hand. So first of all, the climate change is probably our greatest challenge for everybody also. All of the companies need to contribute at one point of time, and also HELLA feels a social, or we have a social responsibility also to take care of climate change. When you look at our product portfolio, our products in itself, they also already contribute to CO2 reductions at the end. So if you think of our electronic products, etc., so helps also to get the automotive industry to get more sustainable at the end. But also us as a company, we committed 2025 already to be CO2 neutral for scope 1 and 2 overall. So, and plus then our, let's say, maybe one example for also the listeners here on this video. We have, for instance, 70% of our lighting products are already on LED, and we developed an additional innovation, a flat light we call it, that only uses 20% of the energy consumption in comparison to the LED. So there is still a lot of innovation that we can bring to our customers and to the market.
Yeah, that's why I would say it's not a disadvantage for us.
No.
It's, I would see it more as an advantage that we need to stay innovative if it comes to production processes in the plant, if it comes to the materials we use for our products, what our products can do later on on the road and supporting the CO2 reduction. So in the end, this will give us the necessary edge that we need.
Marcel, you were here during a time where we had challenges such as COVID, a rise in geopolitical tensions, supply shortages, disruptions in supply chain, in overall a lot of uncertainties. Then the market did not recover, and your successor, Heiko, you arrive here, and I believe for the next few years your main challenge will be local competition. Yeah. How can a company, and I mean HELLA is quite a large company, how can you guarantee that you adapt so quickly on such big changes? I mean, those changes are really massive just within a couple of years. How can you adjust on such changes as a company?
I think it needs the same dedication as what we have demonstrated during the lockdown, where we kept our biggest electronics plant is in Shanghai globally, and we kept it running with the closed, remember the closed loop and everything we discussed very often during that time. And I think this really demonstrated the dedication of every individual, not just within the plant, also from the outside, supplying the right goods and needs that help the workers in the plant. And I think the transition towards local for local requires the same dedication in the end. So we have already over the last years heavily invested in local talent, in the R&D area, but also in other areas. And I think that has to continue. And I would say one topic that we still need to work on is to bridge the gap between headquarters and China a bit better, to become also faster in this exchange. I think the local for local approach is the right one, but of course some alignment is still necessary and also beneficial. So I think there we just need to continue to work on the speed of the alignment.
And I think the managers before you, they brought the innovation into China, right? And now Heiko, your goal, or not your goal, but maybe your task will be to convince the outside world that innovation will come from China out of the world. Is that a case for you?
Yeah, we strongly believe so, that it is the case. We were lucky that actually in April our management board also visited us, and I think it's important that our top management also sees actually what is going on in China. They were able to visit some also innovative customers. They see our supplier base, they see our production plant, and see actually what change is necessary. With this, we are in my opinion, actually able to convince them also that a change is necessary. Yeah.
And when autonomous driving start, do we still need lights, or can the cars drive in the dark?
Yeah, if you look at it, you only think about basically the functionality that a driver needs to see outside, but lights have actually much more functionalities. So you probably have heard or you have seen that light is the new chrome. So it's actually a lot of design elements in the car where light is needed, but also you need light to communicate to the other participants on the road. So you actually use a blinker to see. In the future, when you have autonomous cars, you also need to tell the pedestrians that the car actually sees you and the pedestrian is able to safely cross the road. So you still need to communicate. You might be able to draw or paint some zebra stripes on the road that the pedestrians actually see that the car has recognized you. So we believe that it is still necessary. Plus, if you just imagine the car drives on its own, there are let's say the people in the car. They do different things. They need to drive anymore. They read emails. They basically watch a video, and then you have dynamic interior lighting, which will need to adapt to the functionalities in the car.
I think for us it's an opportunity.
Yes.
The differentiation of the different brands will depend heavily on lighting, and the customization that we see, especially also in the Chinese markets with the seamless integration of the communication device, etc. Their lighting can really help outside when you have a welcome message, or inside with interior lighting. So for us the trend is good. We have a big electronics portfolio. So also there China is leading a lot of topics. If you think of 800 voltage charging and also ADAS, we supply many products in this area. So for us it's a good trend.
As one of the last questions I'd like to ask, when I speak to Germans from Germany, they are quite concerned about the automotive industry in China, right? We see the huge competition rising. We learned that Chinese OEMs can make good cars, but the automotive industries are not only the car makers, also the suppliers. And for Hella, this is obvious, we don't have to talk about, but I'm quite confident about the German automotive suppliers because they are super innovative. They are way faster than the international OEMs, etc. So do you think that the suppliers have such challenges as the OEMs, or are you more optimistic for the future of German automotive or French automotive suppliers? So what's your view in the future and our competitiveness in this area?
I think generally there will be challenges. If you look now across the board through the automotive industry, for OEMs, for suppliers, the Chinese suppliers are catching up or have caught up already, depending on the field, and with a good cost benchmark. So I think it will be challenging, but I think also the European suppliers observe and have learned what they can do about it. You know, if you think again about local for local and still using the good innovation that the companies overall globally develop, I think we can still have the necessary edge to compete in a very good way. So I'm not worried about the future, but you need to work on it continuously.
We can't rest.
You cannot rest.
Yes.
I think that's clear.
You agree on that?
I absolutely agree. I mean, it's like maybe also we as Germans, we see change usually as something negative.
Yeah.
There is also a lot of positive in change, but it doesn't come with a passive approach, right?
Yeah.
So if you win in China, you will win in anywhere, or you win anywhere. And I think this one you need to utilize for you. There's a lot of things that we can learn, also do better or different. We can also learn from some of the Chinese companies and learn then also for the world. So and this is how we actually see this and how we want to also drive this.
Heiko, your network at your headquarters is still quite good. So you still benefit from a lot of trust. So what will you tell your headquarter guys what they might understood not correctly and that you try to bring these messages, we have to do things differently, etc. And then afterwards, Marcel, I will ask you the same question: what kind of messages you will bring to Lippstadt?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's important before you make decisions, go look and see. So it's important that you are not prejudiced about things and really make sure that you know because this is what we are sometimes seeing, that decisions are being made from people that haven't been here for a long time.
Yeah, impossible to do that via Teams or Zoom.
Yes, so the traveling, although maybe there might be challenging in, for cost or travel expenses, it's really important before we need to make decision. I was also surprised when I announced internally that I'm being the successor of Marcel, that there were also prejudice and people also thought it's not a good way of living here in Shanghai, which also surprised me. No? So I traveled here a lot, and I was actually surprised, and those messages or those opinions I really didn't appreciate at the end, because it shows that we are not always open-minded, and we need this for the future.
I agree. Marcel.
What can I add? So I started my new role in January. I'm now heading our Aftermarket and Workshop Solutions business. And it actually helped starting from here, because I'm not at the center in Lippstadt and doing the German market first, then Europe, and then at some point you go abroad. And so I started here. I traveled to the Americas first. So I'm starting from the outside, going inside, and I think that's what I also learned over the last 3 years. You need to have this perspective, because in the end you are spending enough time at the headquarter anyway. Right? So you need to be out there. You need to be with the customers, understanding the requirements, the different situations in the different markets. Not all the markets are the same, not all the markets need the same. So I think for me that was actually beneficial, and I'll take that with me, that approach.
Marcel, we as the chamber in the community, we will miss you. We appreciated the contribution, your knowledge and your open sharing. So we will miss you, but Heiko, you already were quite active in our organization, and we are very happy that we have such a strong successor, and we stay in touch, but we wish the both of you all the success.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much, Max. And I have to thank you, because otherwise I would probably not be here. I took the German Chamber of Commerce flights 3 years ago, and without that there would probably not have been an entry into the country. And we had a very good time, the 5 of us here in Shanghai, so thanks a lot for that.
Very happy to hear that, and we are very happy that we don't need these charter flights.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.